The glamorous premieres and meticulously composed studio photographs of Hollywood's golden era concealed secrets held by the elite. The studio system was fiercely dedicated to concealing a crucial truth from the public eye, a truth primarily concerning prominent figures whose meticulously crafted public personas as romantic idols and embodiments of masculinity hid very. No one possessed a deeper understanding of these diverse personal realities than Randolph Scott, the unflappable man with a strong, square jaw. With his striking features and quiet command, Scott embodied the quintessential strong hero in over 60 classic Western films. A stoic cowboy who embodied justice and moral righteousness for countless film enthusiasts during the 1930s to 1950s. He embodied a straightforward depiction of American manhood, but behind the scenes. Scott navigated Hollywood with the understated understanding of someone who saw the vast chasm between public opinion and personal realities shaped his extraordinary career, as his work placed him in close proximity to the industry's most influential figures. Through these names, he gained insight into the concealed hardships of his colleagues, who were compelled to create elaborate masks to hide their. In a surprising disclosure made towards the end of his life, Scott revealed the names of 6 iconic actors who had to conceal their true selves during a time when being homosexual could swiftly ruin not only one's career, but also potentially result in. Tonight, we'll delve into the stories of these 6 prominent figures, examining the public humiliation and potential criminal charges they faced. Not only reflecting who they were on screen, but also demonstrating remarkable courage in forging fulfilling lives in spite of. Scott's testimony offers a remarkable glimpse into a previously concealed aspect of Hollywood's past. This exploration offers a fresh perspective on these cherished stars, enriching our comprehension before we embark on our countdown. Take a moment to subscribe to Legacy News and be sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss our carefully crafted stories about. Cinema's most captivating tales consistently place historical accuracy at the forefront, while still managing to be utterly enthralling. Exclusive behind-the-scenes insights you won't discover elsewhere. 6 with Jim Nabors. This gentle giant, harboring a hidden truth, kicks off our countdown with Jim Nabors, a television personality whose outward image. The stark contrast between his private life and the image he projected to millions of viewers in the 1960s was immediately apparent in Nabors. Easily identifiable as the endearingly innocent Goober Pyle, first seen on The Andy Griffith Show and subsequently on the popular a spin-off character named Goomer Pyle, hailing from the USMC, is known for his endearing catchphrase, "Golly," and his guileless, wide-eyed demeanor. Nabors crafted a persona of innocent charm that resonated deeply with the American public. His endearingly naive demeanor was harmless, inoffensive, and completely non-threatening, a quintessential representation of America's romanticized small-town ideal. In a decade marked by growing turmoil, few viewers who invite neighbors into their homes. One might have thought, week after week, that the actor playing this unassuming Marine private was leading a life of meticulous secrecy. Jim's personal life starkly contrasted with his on-screen persona, presenting a remarkable dichotomy between his public image and his private reality. According to reports, Randolph Scott once stated that on screen, he portrayed the most guilelessly innocent character. Conceivably, behind the scenes, he was a cultured, well-informed individual forced to maneuver through an incredibly intricate double life. Life's journey to stardom for this individual was anything but ordinary. Hailing from Alabama and born in 1930, his initial career path led him to work as a typist at the prior to relocating to Los Angeles in the 1950s for health considerations. The United Nations was renowned for his commanding baritone vocal talent. which later astonished audiences familiar only with his Gumer Pile accent, leading to nightclub bookings where he was. Andy Griffith's discovery revealed a facet of Neighbor's life that viewers were unaware of: his long-standing relationship with Stan. The story of Cadwallader started in 1975, during Cadwallader's time as a firefighter. For almost 4 decades, their connection in Honolulu was kept confidential, only to culminate in a marriage ceremony in Washington. In the year 2013, at the age of 82, Neighbors was nearing the end of his. At 87, the most agonizing aspect for Jim wasn't merely the secrecy surrounding his relationship. According to a dear friend, it was the harmful urban myth that spread in the early 1970s baselessly alleged he had secretly wed Rock Hudson. The rumor caused significant distress to both individuals, highlighting the potential for Hollywood's rumor machine to be used as a tool to target gay entertainers. The fabricated story concerning Neighbors and Hudson was allegedly spread intentionally to harm the reputations of both actors. Spread so extensively that it had a detrimental impact on their careers. As a direct result, their Neighbors variety show was terminated soon after the rumor circulated. He sought refuge in Hawaii, opting for a more tranquil existence while still occasionally gracing the stage with his performances. Randolph Scott Neighbors exemplified a newer breed of performer who, despite their contemporary status, still grappled with similar limitations. Stars from his generation had successfully traversed a cultural landscape that had undergone some changes by the 1960s and 1970s. The professional repercussions of being openly gay were still highly detrimental, especially for actors whose success depended on a specific kind of non-aggressive masculinity. Is what makes Neighbors' narrative especially touching, because of how the qualities that endeared Gumer Pyle to people, his innocence, his kindness, and his inherent goodness, were truly authentic. Reflecting his Neighbors' own personality, even while the public was still ignorant of his true nature, Jim brought forth laughter. Despite the weight of this responsibility, Scott allegedly stated that he brought happiness to individuals who might have shunned him otherwise. Those who recognized his true self possessed a unique kind of bravery to bestow happiness upon a world that rejects you. After nearly 4 decades as a couple, when Neighbors finally tied the knot, Cadwallader asserted his right to be his authentic self. To put it plainly, it's clear that we lacked certain rights as a couple, especially considering we'd been together for 38 years. Something has to change there, he stated simply. This understated remark exposed both the quiet dignity with which he had. He lived his personal life discreetly and possessed the incredible patience needed to endure the lengthy wait for public acknowledgement. Jim. A Neighbor's path from concealing his true self to ultimately gaining legal acknowledgement of his partnership serving as a potent conclusion to our countdown. This example illustrates both the extent to which Hollywood's gay actors were once forced to hide their identities and how American society has undergone significant transformations since Randolph Scott's initial exploration of these concealed lives 5 decades ago. In our countdown, the 5th most eligible bachelor in Hollywood, the sophisticated Romero, is a man distinguished by his aristocratic demeanor and sophisticated allure. He became a permanent presence in Hollywood for more than 6 decades. Romero, remembered by older generations as a charismatic leading actor and by later viewers as the flamboyant Joker in the 1960s Batman television series, fostered one of Hollywood's longest-lasting and most meticulously constructed public images. Born into a prosperous Cuban family in 1907, Romero possessed authentic aristocratic lineage. Randolph Scott famously remarked that Caesar's unique lineage set him apart in his roles, as he was portraying a character of refined sophistication. Globally renowned as a playboy, both in his public image and private life, the distinction lay in the fact that his off-screen persona was a carefully crafted performance. Romero's cinematic journey, which stretched an astounding 60 years, commenced in the early 1930s with a focus on obscurity rather than recognition. With over 200 film and television roles to his name, his refined demeanor and handsome features initially led to him being. While he initially embodied the archetype of a Latin lover, he would later demonstrate remarkable range, excelling in genres as diverse as musicals, westerns, and perhaps his most well-known role emerged later in his career, when he played the Joker in a comedic, over-the-top portrayal. The vibrant Batman television series from the 1960s, a standout throughout Romero's extensive career. He adhered to what Hollywood delicately referred to as bachelor status, remaining unmarried, and as a result, he was often captured in photos accompanying a range of stunning actresses to premieres and high-profile industry gatherings as a prominent figure in Hollywood's. Despite his eligibility for marriage, he cultivated a public image as a captivating bachelor, all the while maintaining a facade of a charming ladies' man. To sidestep genuine romantic relationships, Caesar handled the situation with remarkable finesse, according to Scott, who stated that Caesar crafted a character that met Hollywood's demands, yet permitted him a level of genuine self-expression that everyone who I recognized his stature and admired how skillfully he navigated this extraordinary predicament. What truly set Romero's strategy apart was his authentic warmth and social grace were truly remarkable, unlike certain stars who retreated from public life out of fear of. Despite his career shift, Romero continued to be a prominent figure in Hollywood society, renowned for hosting sophisticated dinner parties at his residence, and his genuine enjoyment of social interaction helped him stay connected with people throughout the industry, ensuring he was well known without seeming forced or overbearing. Romero's strategy also encompassed a deliberate choice of film roles, although he sometimes took on. In the early stages of his career, he often took on roles as supporting characters, with romantic leads appearing less frequently. Chemistry with prominent women wasn't the main theme. Instead, the emphasis was on sophisticated antagonists, aristocratic fathers, and ultimately, the Joker's wildly theatrical performances had a certain knowing element to them, a characteristic not always present in some of Caesar's acts. During Romero's later years, he witnessed a notable shift in social perspectives, living long enough to see these changes unfold. While he remained private about his sexuality publicly, he was more forthcoming with close friends, never making a formal announcement. He built his entire career and public image around a specific persona, adhering to it until his passing in 1994. At the age of 86, the significance of Romero's story in Randolph Scott's memories lies in the way it illustrates the diverse approaches gay actors employed to overcome Hollywood's limitations, as some lived. Driven by the anguish of their necessary lies, Romero constructed a life marked by genuine sophistication and meaningful social bonds. Discovering methods to flourish despite the constraints placed upon him, as all of us who led lives of careful consideration did, Scott. It is said that Caesar discovered the most elegant solution. He crafted a life brimming with beauty, friendship, and he deserved a life filled with dignity. But given the limitations he faced, he created something extraordinary. Griffin, the empire builder ranked fourth in our countdown, is an individual who made a remarkable transformation from a prominent figure in the big band scene. Transforming from a singer, MC Griffin ascended to become one of the most influential figures in American show business, establishing a vast media empire that. This successful individual boasts a hit game show, a thriving talk show, and a vast real estate portfolio, all while preserving A meticulously cultivated public persona that kept his private life largely hidden, he was born in 1925 in San Mateo, California. Griffin launched his journey in the entertainment world as a vocalist with Freddie Martin's orchestra, achieving a notable musical success. With his rendition of "I've Got a Lovely Bunch of Coconuts" in 1949, his warm vocals and charming personality shone through. His personality secured him a brief film contract with Warner Brothers, but his genuine abilities would ultimately be discovered in a different realm. Instead of positioning the camera in front, as is common practice, MV opted for a unique approach, one that Randolph Scott supposedly remarked upon. Rather than continuing to rely on studios and producers who held sway over his image and professional path, he chose to. This producer, a visionary who established his own dominion, where he dictated the terms, first showcased his exceptional business sense when he created the game show Jeopardy! In 1964, subsequently launching Wheel of Fortune in. In 1975, both entities would evolve into television staples, amassing billions in revenue throughout the following years before he decided to sell. In 1986, he sold his production company to Coca-Cola for a remarkable sum of $250 million. At the time, this acquisition, the largest ever for an entertainment company, was a key part of Griffin's strategy, which included she had a short-lived marriage to Julian Wright, spanning from 1958 to 1976, resulting in the birth of their son, Tony. Following his divorce, Griffin remained unmarried, and despite persistent rumors about his sexual orientation throughout his professional life, when directly questioned about persistent rumors in interviews, he would consistently sidestep the topic with humor, never offering a direct response. Once, in a famous statement to the New York Times, he declared, "I openly tell everyone that I'm a quarter sexually liberated, willing to engage with anyone." For a quarter of a year, this juxtaposition of Griffin's outward cheerfulness with his fiercely private protection of personal. The nature of the job presented a curious paradox. As a talk show host, his role was to elicit information from others, fostering a sense of intimacy in the process. While he engaged in public discourse, he remained an enigma to those who sought to understand him, a man who smiled but kept his true self hidden. Griffin, a man who offered few insights beyond his excitement for his visitors and his business pursuits, created, as media historian Amy Henderson astutely observed, a brilliantly effective strategy involved controlling the means of production. By directly owning the shows he produced, he shielded himself from the studio pressures that might compel actors. He could control his public image, dictating his appearances in arranged marriages or any other publicity schemes, unlike others who lacked that autonomy. Even as cultural landscapes shifted, Griffin's professional success persisted throughout our countdown. Social norms underwent a transformation, shifting from the conservative values of the 1950s to the more liberal perspectives of the 1970s and later, according to Griffin. He adjusted his public persona while still safeguarding his personal life, and his business empire flourished. Ultimately, his empire expanded to encompass hotels, casinos, and vast real estate holdings before Griffin passed away in 2007 at the age of 82. Even in his passing, obituaries primarily highlighted his professional accomplishments and charitable work, emphasizing his private life, even in death. His meticulous upkeep had largely held strong, with most major media outlets either overlooking or merely touching upon, alluding to facets of his private life that he had deliberately kept out of the public eye. For Randolph Scott, Griffin offered a unique reaction to Hollywood's limitations, diverging from the tormented artist archetype exemplified by Montgomery Clift. A sophisticated social adept, akin to Cesar Romero, yet a visionary empire builder who forged his own path. 3 Montgomery Clift, the tormented spirit, and our countdown persists with an actor whose unfiltered emotionally charged performances redefined. Montgomery Clift revolutionized American film acting, inspiring countless performers who came after him with his unique style. Hollywood cinema explores masculine vulnerability in sensitive, introspective, and psychologically intricate ways. Stood in stark contrast to the simpler heroism portrayed by earlier actors such as Randolph Scott, who was born in 1920. Clift's theatrical journey commenced on the Broadway stage at the tender age of 15, launching his career within the orbit of a prosperous yet decidedly eccentric family. By the time he transitioned to film, having already solidified his reputation as a serious stage actor, his 1948 debut in Red River alongside John Wayne marked a significant moment. From his debut on screen, his unique portrayal of characters captivated both critics and viewers who sensed something special. Clift possessed a unique intensity and emotional openness that felt groundbreaking. Monty's presence transformed everything. Randolph Scott allegedly stated that upon arriving in Hollywood, most of us, myself included, were portraying archetypes rather than. Monty fully embodied his characters, demonstrating to a generation of actors how to authentically convey their entire being on screen. The personal toll on him was immense in films such as A Place in the Sun, From Here to Eternity, and Suddenly Last Summer. Clift crafted performances that delved into the profound depths of human psychology, portraying characters grappling with complex moral dilemmas. Emotional ambiguity, conflict, and inner turmoil played out off-screen. Yet Clift's life was marked by struggles that reflected this same torment. Despite his homosexuality being widely known in Hollywood, one of his most celebrated roles came to be recognized by the general public. Stayed oblivious, a leading actor who was constructing his career around romantic films alongside actresses such as Elizabeth Taylor. For Olivia de Havilland, the revelation of Montgomery's sexuality would have been a severe blow to his career. Clift was experiencing a unique kind of torment, as Scott observed. He was essentially tearing himself apart, trying to divide himself into two. The most genuinely emotive acting imaginable, yet requiring the simultaneous act of concealment. Core truths about himself, when viewed outside the lens of the screen, formed an irreconcilable contradiction, ultimately leading to a pivotal and detrimental moment arrived for Clift in 1956, marking a turning point in both his personal life and professional career. Experienced a horrific car crash while on location for the film Rainry County, en route home from a dinner gathering hosted by Elizabeth. Taylor's home was the site of a collision with a telephone pole, causing severe damage to his previously flawless face. Taylor allegedly fled the scene, rushed to the scene, and extracted broken teeth from his throat, a measure that potentially prevented him from choking and may have been life-saving. Although extensive surgery partially restored his features, Clift's visage remained permanently changed. Importantly, the accident greatly intensified his reliance on alcohol and painkillers, a reliance he had already started to develop. Prior to addressing both physical pain and emotional suffering, the events that befell Monty went beyond simply the accident itself, or Scott allegedly stated that the issue revolved around the inherent difficulty of balancing his public and private personas. He was a man whose innate inclination was towards emotional honesty, yet he was compelled to lead a life built on a fundamental falsehood. By the early 1960s, the strain of division had taken a severe toll on Clift, leading to a significant decline in both his physical and mental well-being. Though his work continued in an irregular fashion, but his conduct grew more and more unpredictable, and the stunning beauty he once possessed had faded. On July 23, 1966, he succumbed to a frail state of vulnerability, passing away in solitude within his New York City residence. At the age of 45, Clift's companion, Elizabeth Taylor, passed away, with a heart attack cited as the official reason for her death. Perhaps the most poignant testament to his struggles is that even his closest friends couldn't fully grasp the extent of his tragedy. Monty could have achieved unimaginable stardom throughout the world if he had simply yielded on a single point, but he wouldn't. He was incapable of compromise. He was a He was the most meticulous actor I've ever encountered, and he was utterly unconcerned with anything else. His dedication to his craft was unwavering and absolute. Both professionally and on a personal level, Cliff's narrative holds special weight within Randolph Scott's revelations because of how it highlights the severe psychological toll exacted by Hollywood's insistence on uniformity, in stark contrast to Caesar Romero, who discovered a method to construct a fulfilling life despite the limitations of his time, or M.V. Griffin, who established Cliff's pursuit of power and riches, intended as a shield, ultimately failed to provide a lasting solution for reconciling his true self with the. According to Scott, all the actors he knew who experienced the pressures of fame had to conceal their genuine selves. Monty was no exception. His acting brilliance and his personal vulnerability stemmed from the same source, an inability to avoid emotional authenticity within a system that pressured dishonesty regarding such a core aspect of one's identity. That gift transformed into a curse for Rock Hudson, the tragic icon, as we approach the pinnacle of. As our countdown reaches its climax, we arrive at the star whose personal turmoil and public disclosure would ultimately necessitate a transformation in America's comprehension of both homosexuality and the AIDS crisis shook the nation. Hudson represented the epitome of masculine ideals for an entire generation of film fans. But then in the face of death, the most recognizable symbol of a crisis that many Americans had deliberately overlooked emerged: Roy Harold Scherer. Born in Wetka, Illinois, in 1925, Hudson's upbringing was characterized by modest means, shaping his trajectory. His journey to stardom commenced after agent Henry Wilson recognized his captivating appearance and molded him into the iconic Rock Hudson. His stage name perfectly encapsulated a fabricated masculine ideal of strength and resilience, standing an imposing 6 feet 5 inches. With his classically attractive features, Hudson swiftly rose to become one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. According to Randolph Scott, Rock was the pinnacle of Henry Wilson's talent, stating that Henry had a knack for discovering handsome. What set Rock apart was the authentic talent and kindness that shone through its focus on young men, turning them into stars. His genuine nature shone through in the remarkable packaging, captivating the public even without them fully knowing him. During the 1950s and early 1960s, Hudson was a leading figure, appearing in a succession of films that achieved success and cemented his status as the ideal of American masculinity in Douglas Sirk's melodramas, such as Magnificent. In films like Obsession and All That Heaven Allows, he portrayed romantic heroes whose strength was tempered by a profound emotional depth. In romantic comedies starring Doris Day, such as Pillow Talk and Lover Comeback, he showcased a talent for light-hearted humor. Despite projecting the image of the perfect heterosexual heartthrob, a carefully constructed public persona concealed. Hudson's personal life was a stark contrast to his professional persona. His homosexuality, while an open secret in industry circles, remained carefully hidden from the public. Through a carefully constructed system of safeguards and oversight, his agent Henry Wilson not only established and preserved Hudson's public persona while diligently working to stifle any whispers or revelations that could tarnish it. The machinery surrounding Rock was vast, Scott remarked, as studio publicists facilitated friendly encounters with journalists, scheduling dates for them. Suitable young actresses, all carefully chosen to uphold the illusion that this charming leading man was genuinely as he seemed. For his on-screen persona, this management involved a short-lived marriage to Wilson's secretary, Phyllis Gates, lasting from 1955 to 1958. Initially portrayed as a genuine partnership that ended due to incompatibility, the marriage is now widely acknowledged to have been a prearranged union. To directly address rumors concerning Hudson's sexual orientation, Gates subsequently stated that she was unaware of Hudson's. The claim that the couple was homosexual when they married has been challenged by those familiar with them, though the assertion persists. Marriage was merely one facet of the intricate public persona Hudson cultivated throughout his career. Frequently, fan publications featured stories speculating about his rumored romantic involvements with different actresses. Publicity teams for the studio scheduled photo opportunities for photographers, aiming to capture images that reflected Hudson's real-life connections. Kept strictly confidential, occurring within the confines of private residences and exclusive social groups, which is what distinguished Rock's. What Scott found particularly touching was the fact that he was peddling a very specific type of romantic dream, too. Throughout his career, he constructed his persona as the epitome of masculinity, a figure that particularly resonated with female audiences, becoming the ideal man of their dreams. The discrepancy between his public persona and his actual life was arguably the most significant among all stars. Despite the pressures Hollywood presents, those who associate with Hudson describe him as generally good-natured and well-balanced. Limitations imposed by his circumstances, unlike Montgomery Clift, who faced a comparable situation that negatively impacted his mental well-being. Hudson appeared to endure the hardships of his public persona as the cost of achieving fame, steadfastly maintaining. Close colleagues within the field celebrated his material achievements and sought ways to foster a genuine personal connection. Even with the constraints placed upon him, Rock discovered a sense of tranquility amidst an improbable circumstance. Scott. He allegedly stated that he comprehended the game's rules and executed them skillfully, without allowing his performance to be compromised. Engulf him utterly, at least until the point Scott had envisioned, a point that sadly arrived in 1985 when Hudson experienced. Among the first prominent figures to succumb to AIDS-related illnesses, the disclosure of both his sexual orientation and his illness came as a stunning surprise to the public, who had always seen him as the strong, charismatic star of viral fame. Hudson's health struggles first came to light during a public appearance for a new television project, a moment that was widely discussed in the context of countless romantic films. A project featuring the actor alongside former co-star Doris Day, which took place in July 1985, depicted him appearing thin and in poor health. Hudson's visibly worsened condition prompted widespread speculation, which was later confirmed by his publicist when he stated that Hudson was. His AIDS treatment in Paris implicitly confirmed his homosexuality, as did the public announcement. The revelation sent tremors through American society. Rock Hudson, the epitome of masculine perfection, the man who had on-screen romances with Elizabeth Taylor and Doris Day, portraying characters who succumbed to a disease then mainly linked to gay men. The revelation caused significant cognitive dissonance for many Americans who had always accepted Hudson's meticulously crafted public image. The Rock's sickness and passing had a profound impact on everything Scott witnessed. He suddenly realized the pervasiveness of this disease that many Americans had willingly embraced. To disregard someone who looked like someone they knew and cherished, while turning a blind eye to the authentic realities of gay lives that had been deliberately concealed. No longer could the truth be concealed. Hudson's passing on October 2nd, 1985, at the age of 59 became undeniable. His death sparked the extraordinary media attention and public discourse surrounding both homosexuality and AIDS were significantly amplified by the involvement of Elizabeth Taylor, a former co-star, rose to prominence as a key figure in the AIDS movement, resulting in a significant surge in donations to organizations dedicated to AIDS research. President Reagan, who had remained silent on the AIDS crisis despite its mounting death toll, finally broke his silence and spoke out about. Following his friend Hudson's diagnosis, the impact of the disease on Randolph takes on a new and profound significance. Scott's revelations exemplifies the pinnacle of Hollywood's image creation demands while simultaneously representing its ultimate. For years, Hudson had cultivated an image of impeccable perfection, only for it to be shattered completely. His death at the end of his life sparked a cultural phenomenon that forever altered American viewpoints on both. Even if not completely intentional, the public display of celebrity images and the topic of homosexuality might have been rock music's last genuine act of openness. According to reports, his most significant achievement, Scott allegedly stated, was in death. He achieved what none of us were capable of during our best years. Throughout his career, Hudson unveiled the genuine human experiences that lay beneath the carefully crafted illusions of Hollywood, revealing them to America. Hudson's legacy. His influence reaches far wider than just his films, although younger audiences might not recognize his work in movies such as Giant or Pillow Talk, a title forever linked to a significant turning point in American cultural history, when the methods Hollywood used to create its images ultimately couldn't keep up with a more intricate truth, and when a sickness that had been shunned and overlooked, it became impossible for the country to ignore Cary Grant, the individual concealed beneath a mask. We now encounter the most astonishing and personally resonant name on Randolph Scott's list, a man held in universal esteem. Representing the pinnacle of sophisticated heterosexual allure, whose flawlessly crafted public persona hit a far more. Cary Grant's prominent place at the top of our list is a testament not only to his immense fame, but also to the intricate and private nature of his reality. However, his connection with Randolph Scott was equally distinctive, considering that Randolph Scott, born Archibald Leach in Bristol, England, in 1904, his upbringing stemmed from working-class roots and a childhood marked by trauma. His mother vanished when he was 11 years old, leaving him. Upon learning that she had supposedly died, Grant discovered his father had actually committed her to a mental hospital, a truth Grant refused to accept. It wasn't until he reached the age of 31 that he uncovered this early experience of deep deceit and loss, an event that would fundamentally influence his comprehension. He grappled with the disparity between appearances and truth throughout his life, ultimately becoming Hollywood's most sophisticated figure. At the tender age of 14, Archibald Leach, a promising young performer, embarked on a career as a traveling acrobat, joining the renowned Bob Pender troupe. This foundational theatrical experience instilled in him exceptional physical agility, a quality that would later set his film performances apart after his nationwide tour of America with. He opted to remain in vaudeville, ultimately progressing to Broadway before the allure of Hollywood drew him in. What's frequently overlooked about Cary Randolph Scott, as reported, is that his entire public image was a calculated creation. In his creation, he didn't emerge as Cary Grant. He crafted Cary Grant. He famously stated, "Everyone aspires to be Cary Grant." "Even I want to be Cary Grant" wasn't merely a witty remark. It was a deeply revealing statement about his life, reflecting Grant's. Becoming a screen icon from Archie, Leach demanded conscious effort and dedication. He methodically crafted his. He cultivated a sophisticated persona, drawing inspiration from the affluent patrons he encountered during his formative years performing in both New York and London. He cultivated impeccable diction, refined his mannerisms, and mastered the social graces, skills that would later appear natural and effortless during his acting career. The beloved Cary Grant, admired by audiences everywhere, was fundamentally a flawlessly executed performance that never ceased. What makes Grant's narrative especially noteworthy is the extended nature of his living arrangement with Randolph Scott. Starting in 1932, the two performers created a joint living arrangement that endured, albeit with occasional breaks. For more than 10 years, they resided together in a house in Los Feliz, subsequently relocating to a beach house in Santa Monica. This living situation, which gained notoriety in Hollywood as Bachelor Hall, set it apart from standard arrangements. They publicly portrayed their living arrangement as bachelor roommates, as seen in fan magazines such as Photoplay and Modern Screen. Frequently released photo series depicted the two stars in everyday home environments, capturing them preparing breakfast as a shared activity. Their leisure activities, involving pool games with their dogs, painted a picture of a seemingly idyllic home life, as captured in those photographs. Renowned film historian William Mann observed that extraordinary historical documents feature two of Hollywood's most prominent male actors, essentially presenting a depiction of domestic partnership, but tailored to resonate with modern viewers. Undeniably, it's concealed in the most obvious place, the articles accompanying these personal photographs usually described. Their setup was chosen for its cost-effectiveness by two thrifty bachelors, or viewed as a sensible expression of brotherhood between two. The hard-working actors offered a veneer of plausible deniability, yet the accompanying images hinted at a potentially contrasting reality. Years later, Scott reportedly stated, "While we weren't entirely truthful, we were presenting a facade of our shared life, but enabling individuals to perceive it in a way that aligned with their own comfort levels. The studios consented because it humanized two of these valuable stars without jeopardizing the romantic illusion we portrayed on screen, presented a confounding simplicity." In modern times, Grant and Scott's relationship was characterized as a romantic partnership akin to contemporary couples, or perhaps best described as close roommates with a profound friendship. Or perhaps something completely different. The evidence continues to be unclear, and both men steadfastly guarded their privacy throughout their lives. While the precise nature of their connection remains unclear, one thing is certain. They shared a deep and meaningful bond. The intricate realities of their time and chosen fields ultimately led both Grant and Scott to marry multiple times, Grant 5 times and Scott twice. Arrangements which fostered companionship and a genuine sense of family, unique in its own right, while concurrently fulfilling the studio's needs. Cary discovered a method to live authentically despite facing insurmountable limitations, balancing her own desires with public perception. He reportedly claimed to have crafted a private space where he could authentically express himself, while still presenting the public persona of Cary Grant. They insisted the fee was substantial, yet he handled it with impressive finesse, Grant's polished on-screen presence shining through. This experience uniquely equipped him to handle these complexities, setting him apart from more traditionally masculine celebrities. He cultivated a cosmopolitan sophistication that provided him with more freedom to shape his public persona and the roles he took on. Frequently incorporated nuanced layers of ambiguity and lightheartedness, especially in classic comedies such as Bringing Up. Film scholar Andrew Britton, in his studies of films like Baby, The Philadelphia Story, and I Was a Male War Bride, has observed how Grant's performances frequently incorporate elements of gender bending and identity shifts, often utilizing disguises. Situations involving role reversals and instances of cross-dressing though portrayed for comedic effect, held underlying significance. Grant ensured a veneer of plausibility while still permitting astute observers to catch glimpses of the intricate individual beneath. What set Carrie apart, Scott observed, was her ability to weave her dual existence into her art, creating a flawless facade. The double consciousness he had to navigate, existing both as himself and as the image he presented to the public, infused his performances with a unique depth. His distinctive quality lies in the compelling tension he creates between what is shown and what remains hidden, a tension that permeates every scene he graces. Grant's personal battles found expression in his well-documented fascination with psychotherapy and his forays into its practices. LSD therapy during the 1950s, a time when the drug was legal and viewed as a potentially valuable resource for psychiatric treatment. He later attributed these therapeutic experiences with aiding him in harmonizing the different facets of his identity and discover deeper personal tranquility. I've dedicated a significant portion of my life oscillating between Archie Leach and, he once remarked, expressing uncertainty and perhaps suspicion, Cary Grant. When Grant passed away in 1986 at the age of 82, he had accomplished something extraordinary, a seamless merging of his constructed image with his public remembrance for the majority. For audiences, he embodied the ultimate romantic hero, setting the standard for masculine elegance that all others were measured against. While some only perceived him superficially, those closest to him, such as Randolph Scott, recognized his complex and thoughtful nature. Carey achieved what many of us only accomplish to a lesser extent, according to Scott, who was behind the picture of perfection. As his life neared its end, he constructed a life that successfully balanced the world's expectations with his personal requirements. Within this, he discovered love, produced artwork that has stood the test of time, and found inner peace during a period that denied individuals like us the privilege of living openly. That's arguably the highest aspiration one could reach, which is what makes the Grant Scott connection so profoundly meaningful. Historically, its impact lies in its subversion of simplistic notions of sexuality and identity prevalent during Hollywood's golden era. These individuals forged lives rich in purpose and connection despite facing limitations that would be unimaginable to us today. Discovering methods to convey genuineness while still upholding required public decorum. The tales Randolph Scott recounted about these 6 Hollywood icons, Cary Grant, Rock Hudson, Montgomery Clift, were captivating facades. Griffin Cesar Romero, Jim Nabors, and MV illuminate a previously unexplored facet of cinema's classic era, revealing a hidden dimension beneath the glittering facade of Hollywood's studio era. Complex human experiences existed, realities that are only now being fully recognized. What's particularly noteworthy is the variety of responses these men exhibited when faced with similar limitations, given Clift's delicate sensibilities. The clash between his public and private personas became too much to bear, ultimately leading to his downfall. Hudson skillfully navigated the division until illness brought about an unforeseen disclosure, prompting Grant to a refined on-screen presence that granted him more versatility while preserving the required level of uncertainty. Romero forged a lasting persona as the captivating bachelor, offering both security and an authentic embodiment of his refined nature. Driven by a desire for autonomy, personality-driven Griffin constructed an empire that allowed him to dictate his own terms, free from the constraints of studio expectations and neighborhood pressures. He discovered a private contentment that stayed distinct from his public image for many years, and each man forged his own unique journey. As Scott neared the end of his life, he reportedly recognized that even in impossible circumstances, there was no flawless resolution. A way to embrace genuine self-expression in a world obsessed with outward appearances, yet each discovered pockets of authenticity and connection nonetheless. The complexities mirrored in Scott's personal life were also evident in his first marriage in 1936 to Marion DuPont. A celebrated American equestrian and air sports enthusiast, her career was tragically short-lived, spanning just 3 years, yet it concluded with an unexpected and noteworthy epilogue. Opted to keep Scott's last name for the subsequent 44 years of her life, implying a connection that endured. His union with Patricia Stillman in 1944, a marriage that transcended ordinary comprehension, held astonishingly resilient. Their partnership endured for 43 years, continuing until Scott's passing in 1987, at which point they adopted. 2 children provided a foundation for a stable family life, a stark contrast to the tumultuous relationships often seen in Hollywood marriages, regardless of. The Stillman-Scott union, with its private nature, offered genuine companionship and a sense of stability that was deeply valued socially. Throughout his career, Scott cultivated an air of dignified restraint, both in his public persona and his on-screen roles. His Western heroes were a man of few words, yet possessing profound integrity, a quality that mirrored his unique approach to life. Certain stars, disillusioned by the limitations of their time, sought out Scott to discover ways to find purpose and connection. Despite his strong desire for privacy, Grant Hudson and his peers were thrust into a world that compelled them to live separately. Life has undergone a significant transformation since Randolph Scott's passing in 1987, legally speaking. Reforms have removed the criminalization of same-sex relationships, and societal views have shifted to embrace greater inclusivity and acceptance. Contemporary culture is increasingly embracing rather than shunning LGBTQ identities. Today, Hollywood celebrities can freely and openly declare same-sex relationships without jeopardizing their professional success. A change so radical it would have been inconceivable to those in Scott's era. The stark difference between then and now highlights both the advancements society has made and the severity of the limitations that once existed, yet the enduring impact of the legacy of that earlier period endures, continuing to influence our comprehension of Hollywood's golden age. The movies crafted by these actors persist. Cultural icons are now seen in a new light, with a deeper appreciation for the personal challenges that shaped them. Rather than lessening their accomplishments, this awareness actually enhances the poignancy and depth of their work, which has. Scott's disclosures concerning his 6 colleagues emerged late in his life, proving enduring. The majority of the individuals involved had already deceased, and his chosen timing demonstrated both a consideration for their privacy and an awareness of their situation. It is essential that their entire narratives be shared, not to fuel idle gossip, but as a testament to the entirety of their bravery. And these achievements weren't merely due to their exceptional acting talent. Scott reportedly stated they were individuals of extraordinary character who discovered methods to not only survive but flourish in a world that refused to acknowledge their right to live truthfully. If that's not courage, it's unclear what motivated Randolph Scott to share these stories, but in doing so, he performed a final act of kindness for his friends and associates. Though they had never been fully comprehended during their own lives, he made certain that coming generations would grasp not just their artistic achievements, yet the inner fortitude required to produce those achievements despite facing extraordinary challenges. Looking back at Hollywood's golden age through Scott's perspective offers us a more profound comprehension, illuminating the obstacles along the way. The films gain new depth and significance when considering both the artistry they embody and the intricate lives of the men who created them. The masks they wore in public added further layers of depth and genuineness to their performances. Highlighting the challenges they overcame makes these accomplishments even more impressive. And with that, we conclude our countdown of the six Hollywood legends, forged by Randolph Scott, who crafted enduring masterpieces while confronting the significant difficulties of their time. These narratives serve as a reminder that beneath the polished public personas crafted by Hollywood lie intricate human experiences that require to be comprehended with both historical precision and empathy. If you've appreciated this more in-depth exploration into. For a moment, consider hitting the like button and subscribing to Legacy News, as we're committed to delivering insights into the history of cinema. You diligently explored narratives that delve deeper than surface-level headlines and promotional images to uncover the genuine realities of. We'd be fascinated to know your opinions in the comments. Which of these stars who have profoundly influenced American culture? Which actors' stories were the most surprising to you? Are there any other facets of Hollywood history that you'd be interested in us examining in the future? Videos, we appreciate you joining us on this exploration of cinema's most influential period, a time marked by both darkness and light. Until next time, right now, you're tuning into Legacy News, where we firmly believe that grasping history is key to truly appreciating how much progress we've made. Arrive and the distance remaining.